Hey everyone, and welcome back to my first art video in about a year. Today I am going to be taking one very simple sketch and creating three hopefully very different works of art from this. Now if you've seen any of my other videos before, especially the short ones I post on Instagram and TikTok sometimes, you'll know that I really like working from a separate sketch whenever I start any painting, and there's a couple of reasons for this. The first is that there are obviously so many different kinds of paper you can use depending on the medium that you're working with. Watercolour paper needs to be different to pastel paper, needs to be different to marker paper, and so on. And when you have a high quality paper, these can be really expensive, and I don't want to waste these because I'm not made of money, as I'm sure most of you guys aren't either. So my solution is to always sketch separately and then transfer it to the actual quality paper only when I'm ready to add the specific medium and get colouring in, you know? Sometimes this means doing pencil sketches on other sheets of like cheaper scrap paper and then transferring to these mediums, or sometimes it means sketching digitally in Procreate, printing it out and then transferring it to the paper. The second reason is not just that I don't always trust my drawing skills, but also that I don't trust my painting skills. As an amateur artist, I still make a hell of a lot of mistakes. And one of the most annoying things I found is when I've done a really good drawing that I'm really proud of in the past, and then I mess it up in some way during the painting or colouring stage. Take this jellyfish, for example. I loved the sketch that I did, but the minute I started adding paint to it, I realised I had made a huge mistake because this paper I was using was terrible. It was impossible to blend the colours on. It was really horrible to work with. And I thought, oh my god, I've now wasted this jellyfish sketch that I was really proud of and can't exactly paint it again. Whereas if you have a digital sketch, even if you mess up, all you have to do is transfer this to a new sheet of paper, start again. You've never ruined your original sketch. And the final reason is that when I'm painting things like beetles like this, I want them to be as symmetrical as possible. Take this little boy for example. I sketched him in Procreate, but I didn't make him symmetrical, and now all I can see when I look at him are his unsymmetrical wonky legs, and it really distracts me. The rest of the beetles I painted are really symmetrical because what I like to do is I draw them digitally, at least I have a base sketch, and then I draw one half completely in full the way that I want, and then I mirror it, tidy it up, print it out, and you have a completely symmetrical beetle. So this is the beetle I'm going to be painting today, and we're going to be painting him in watercolour paints, which is my kind of go-to for beetles like this. It's the medium that I'm probably most comfortable with and I use most for these kinds of illustrative paintings. I'm also going to be doing a painting in oil pastel, which is a medium that I'm very new to using and that I've only been working with for a few months now, seriously. I've tried cheaper oil pastels in the past and I really liked them but felt limited by them. So for a birthday treat for myself this year, I upgraded to the Caran d'Ache oil pastels. I bought myself a tiny pack of 12 about a year and a half ago and I loved them but felt limited by the colours. So this year for my birthday, as a treat to myself, I upgraded to a bigger pack of the Caran d'Ache oil pastels, and oh my god, it has made me feel so creative. It's inspired me so much. They're so easy to work with and blend with each other, and they're really fun. I've been doing a series of bird drawings with them, and now I figured I would try something smaller, more detailed, that I have to be a bit more precise with, and less textured, and try a beetle. And the final one I'm going to be doing is a little bit of a rogue one. This is alcohol markers and coloured pencils. Now, coloured pencils I'm fairly familiar with. I use them to add details to my watercolour paintings all the time. I use them for like little practice sketches and stuff like that. I like to blend with them and all sorts, but alcohol markers I've never really got. I found them really difficult. I picked up a couple of packs of Pro markers on sale like 2 years ago now, and I have kept going back to them and trying to make them work, and I just haven't been able to get my head around them at all. I'm gonna use them today. I've been watching a lot more videos on alcohol markers and blending and trying to kind of understand the best way to use them and how to combine them with the coloured pencils, which I'm a bit more familiar with, and we're gonna see what happens today. Okay, spoilers, I've already filmed the videos. It turned out really well. I can't believe I actually managed to pull something off with them that looks really good, and I'm proud of what I made. It was a challenge, and halfway through I was ready to give up, but I didn't, and I stuck with it, and I love the end result. And I'm definitely going to be using alcohol markers again in the future for projects like this because I had so much fun with them. So with that in mind, let's jump into voice over me and we'll see the footage of me actually creating these paintings. They all turned out so much better than I expected. I really pushed myself with every single one of these and tried something new with every single one, and I really feel like it paid off. I don't know which is the favourite between my watercolour Galaxy Beetle and my alcohol marker one. The one I do think lets me down a bit is the oil pastel one. I love the shiny background. I love how he literally shines and shimmers as you move him around like a real beetle would. But because the oil was quite difficult to work with, even with the layers of fixative on top, I found it hard to add those tiny little details in. I couldn't be as precise as I wanted. I could have tried adding more of those details in with oil pastels and like layering and stuff, but again, I couldn't be as precise as I wanted, and that was an issue. The acrylic paints, even though I managed to get some spots on there, weren't really showing up as I wanted. It was a struggle, I was fighting against it. Maybe in the future I could try using actual oil paints to add those details in, but we'll see. But for now, I have to say, while I'm a little frustrated with some elements of this boy, and he's not my favourite of the three, I do still love him. I think he's really bright, he's really fun. I love the colour blending that you can get with the oil pastels. It is so smooth. The colours blending each other are beautiful and stunning. The Caran d'Ache oil pastels have such a perfect range of colour that all work with each other so well. It's stunning. I really, really love the colour palette on this. I love the blending. I'm really, really proud of this. That said, I think I will stick to using oil pastels for more textured drawings in the future. You can kind of see the difference between the smoothness and the flatness of this, and comparing to the Kingfisher here, where I was able to do like a lot more textures and stuff and make it a lot rougher. And because I didn't use so much fixative on top of this, he's not as shiny, he's more matte, which I like. This one also let me have a lot more fun with the variations in the colours and things like that. So I don't know, I like both, looking at them now. I think it's really cool how you can use the same medium, the exact same set of oil pastels, to create two such different images that have such different styles and feelings and almost like different voices to them, you know? I really, really like that. So yeah, going forward, I'm going to be working a lot more in oil pastel. And what this has taught me is that I can vary what my subject matter is and still have fun and still create some really, really cool results. Now, let's talk briefly about this little boy, our alcohol marker and coloured pencil one, obviously with your little bits of Posca paint on top. I'm so proud of him. I didn't think that I could create anything like this with an alcohol marker, and I love how he's turned out. There was part way through, I was ready to scrap him and give up and start again, because I was like, there's no saving this, I've ruined it, it's terrible, what have I done? Basically, God, I couldn't get the alcohol markers to blend the way that I wanted. I felt like they were looking patchy. I felt that like the lines were a bit like unclear and blurry, and I didn't like it. Then I started adding in the coloured pencil to clear up the edges and the lines and stuff, and that started to really bring it to life. And so then I was like, oh, okay. I did a little bit more work on blending the colours together. They stopped looking so patchy. And then I started adding the coloured pencils on top, and that's when I had a crisis again. This colour green here didn't really fit with anything else I was using. It was way too... The others are all very yellow based, but this was quite a blue-green, I think, and it didn't fit with the others, and it looked so silly. And I just kept layering and layering and layering here to try and cover it up, and it ended up looking awful. So I used the Caran d'Ache Luminance coloured pencils, and they have quite a waxy finish. They're very soft, which I really like. It makes them very easy to blend with, but it does mean if you layer too much, you can get quite a waxy build-up, and that's what I was getting here, trying to correct this colour. So I ended up with all these streaky lines that weren't blending. It was looking patchy, and again, I was like, I ruined my painting. All these hours of work for nothing. But I was just being dramatic. All it took was an eraser. That's it. I just rubbed it out, got rid of a lot of the layers of coloured pencil, as many as I could, and started again. Simple as that. There was still a little bit of patchiness. There's still a couple of like tiny little lines and marks you can see, because, you know, it did stain the paper slightly, but I could cover that up with a bit of Posca pen. I just added a big spot there. I was doing spots all over anyway, just add a big one there to cover up the mess. And now I don't think anyone could tell it was there unless you know it's there and you're looking for the fault, you know? The real benefit of using multiple mediums together like this, the alcohol markers, the coloured pencils, the acrylic paint pens, it means you can cover up any mistakes you make. It makes it really versatile. It means that if you're having trouble with one medium, try doing the effect you want in another and stuff like that. It's really, really fun. And honestly, I love how the Posca pen's layered over the coloured pencil and the alcohol marker. It layered beautifully. They were all really easy to use together, and I had so much fun with this. More fun than I expected. Like I say, I'm definitely going to be doing this a lot more in the future. I can't wait. So one problem I did have though was the bleed sheet underneath, right? So this is a sheet that's like vellum, greaseproof paper type stuff that's there to stop your alcohol markers from bleeding through to the next page, right? Great idea, brilliant, loved it. Didn't think that because it's catching all this ink, the ink's just sat there on the surface, which means you actually have to wash this before you use it again. Just give it a wipe down. I didn't think about this because I'm an idiot. So I had some issues, and you can see it on the back, of alcohol marker that was already left on here, transferring to my paper, like on the back of it. So you can see there's some red here that and here that I really had to work to cover up with the coloured pencil because it was showing through on the front of the image. It was a big issue I had. Again, I thought it was a nightmare, but it's fine. Fixed it. It's all good. It's all part of the learning experience, and that's what I've learned with this. So this will be getting a good clean before I use it again, because I've learned now, and we're not going to make that same mistake twice. And finally, let's talk about the watercolours. I love this guy so much. If you know anything about me, you'll know that pink, blue and purple is my favourite colour combination ever when it comes to creating art. I have art with that colour combination all over my house because I just love it. And I also love galaxy print stuff and just painting and drawing galaxies in general. And for a while now I've been wanting to do a beetle. And I'm so happy I have. The way he shines and shimmers because of the metallic watercolour I think is gorgeous, and I love it. But of course, not everything went right with this painting as well. You might notice here, there's a little rough patch. So I was doing all these paintings at kind of the same time, and it was like I would work on one, and then as a bit was drying, I would put it to the side and work on another. And that's what I did, and it was going really well, and I had like a little conveyor belt thing going on. It was great, until it wasn't. And it's my own fault. I'm the one who's silly. But I put this one down, I was letting him dry, and I put down one of the others next to it. I think it was the oil pastel one, and they were drying next to each other, and then Kubi jumped up on the bed and we were having a snuggle, and I was rubbing her belly and we were playing around, and then the next thing I knew, the oil pastel had like shifted on top of this and was like laying on it here, and I didn't realise because again, I'm an idiot. So the oil pastel notebook has like kind of bleed sheets between them to stop your pages getting stuck together, stopping smudging, all that sort of thing. And that got stuck to the watercolour paper here, and it dried. And as I went to pick up the oil pastel thing, it pulled off a little bit of the watercolour paper here, so there is a little bit of damage to the paper here. And again, I was freaking out. There's a bit of a paint smudge here, freaking out. Luckily, I managed to cover up most of the paint smudge with a little bit of white Posca pen, and I managed to cover up this little bit of damage to the paper with just more paint. Again, it's noticeable if you know what you're looking for and you can see it, but to the average viewer looking at it from a distance, you're not even going to know it's there, so I don't mind it too much. So what this whole process has taught me is that little accidents and mistakes aren't the end of the world. You can keep powering through, you can still create something that you're really, really proud of in the end. One thing that I was a little uncertain about is how the paint's dried up here. You can see where the metallic watercolour is. You've got this really kind of like patchy effect here, and I didn't know if I liked that or not. I've had that before with other beetles I've painted, and I've always gone back and done another layer of watercolour to smooth it out even more. But then I thought, am I just kind of undoing the effect of watercolour by doing that? Am I hiding the fact it's watercolour at all? Maybe I should embrace the fact that watercolour is a medium that behaves in this way. Maybe I should embrace the fact that this is kind of what watercolour does and just enjoy it and embrace it. And the more I sat and looked at it as it was drying, I was like, actually, it's a really cool pattern and I really like it. And I think it adds a little bit of texture and uniqueness to the painting, and I decided to keep it rather than cover it up. And I'm really, really happy that I did. This has definitely taught me that I need to step out my comfort zone a little bit more. It's definitely taught me how much I love using my separate sketches because, you know, I can do cool projects like this, and there's a reason that I've been doing this and it's been working so well for a long time. And just overall, I had a lot of fun with this. I really, really enjoyed it. I want you guys to let me know down in the comments which one of these beetles ended up being your favourite, both for the medium and the style and the colour scheme, which one did you like best, and also if you were doing this challenge, what mediums would you be using in your paintings? Also, over on my web store, I am going to be doing signed limited editions of prints of these 3 paintings. So these 3 are going to be a little bit different from the other prints I've got on offer there because I'm getting them printed in a slightly different way. They're all going to be hand signed on the back by me, and they're all going to have handwritten notes with them as well. So these are going to be available for £12 each. I just thought that would be a cute little thing to do as well. So they'll be available for the next 2 months or so, and I will send them out in batches like at the end of every month. So if you want to get them, you can head over to racheloates.uk/shop now. Otherwise, just thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. And also, if you want to have a go at this yourself and use one sketch to create a number of paintings and you want to give that a try, I would love if you want to tag me in your posts over on Instagram so I could have a look and see what you do. But for now, thank you so much for watching today. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you all again really, really soon.